Hey, good morning. Welcome into a Monday edition of Morning Scone. Glad you're here. As always, encourage you to please hit the red subscribe button. And always, glad to tell you about our new sponsor here on Morning Scone. It is Boudreaux's, their mixers. Boudreaux's Margarita Mix and the Bloody Mary Mix. You can pick it up at great local retailers in the Baton Rouge area like Calandro's, Alexander's, Highland Market, and Calvin's. And I am so excited to tell you about how you can order it online. So if you're watching this from outside of the Baton Rouge area, that's coming very, very soon. But in the meantime, if you would, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, give them a shout out, let them know you appreciate them sponsoring Morning Scone. I would greatly appreciate that. Their handles should be tagged in the tweet and Facebook post if you found this video from either of those. So thank you. And thank you to Boudreaux's. So really sad Sunday in Baton Rouge as Dr. Billy Cannon died. I did a YouTube live video as soon as I heard the news, and my apologies, but for some reason it didn't publish. I also posted a podcast last night on Daily Scone, which is my podcast, which you can go find on iTunes, and I'm certain many of this will say today on the radio show. You know, it's one of those things where you try to handle the situation delicately but also appropriately. I can tell you, because it's you understand that people are mourning the loss of a husband, a father, a grandfather, a great-grandfather, a friend, a teammate, a colleague, but when you're such a public figure and a noted public figure like Dr. Cannon, you have to react to that and have people react to that, and the people that know him best are the ones that are going to do that. So I can tell you, for me, that's been a challenge, is trying to book a show to have people lend perspective on Dr. Cannon so soon after he's died. But you know, I shared my personal experience of 2015. I'm excited actually to get back to the studio today and pull up the archive of an interview I did with Dr. Cannon. He had released his book in 2015, A Long Run, and they were doing a book signing at TJ Ribs on Acadian, which is, for those that also don't know, it's a restaurant. And that's the place where Billy Cannon's Heisman has been. He, I guess, loaned it to his friend TJ Moran to be in the restaurant, and it's remained Billy Cannon's copy of the Heisman. It's been there forever. And he was doing a book signing there at the restaurant at TJ Ribs, and asked if I would do a remote broadcast there to help promote the signing. And in exchange, I got to do an hour-long interview with Dr. Cannon, and I've never prepped so hard or diligently ever for an interview in my life, because I recognized at that time, as Dr. Cannon was getting older, that I may not have that opportunity again. And as it would happen, I didn't. And it wasn't just that you had the opportunity to talk to many people. Interviewed Dr. Cannon over the years. He was extremely gracious with things like that. But the opportunity to do the Ask Anything type of an interview for a full hour was a truly once in a lifetime for me. And what's even more remarkable about it is you recognize, growing up as an LSU fan, that, you know, it's like, this is Billy Cannon. This is, you know, this is the Halloween run that you grew up watching on Halloween night. This is the, you know, the J.C. Polite's call that you grew up hearing. You know, I mentioned on the podcast, my dad had this cassette tape, Hey Fightin' Tigers, Songs of LSU, and in that they had the J.C. Polite's call of the run. They even had, you know, bits of an interview with Cannon when he said it was a standoff ball game, a great ball game, about the Ole Miss. So we talked about, you know, the narrator, you know, the never say die attitude of Billy Cannon, great All-American. And so in our household, it was always never say die. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in our household, you know, if even, I know it sounds absurd, but as a little kid, when I was, you know, playing baseball and batting, if I was down to 2 strikes, you could hear my dad from the stands, never say die, Matt. I mean, it was stuff like that's how just ingrained it was in, you know, in our home and our family. And I think that it was that way for most LSU fans growing up. It just, you know, Cannon was a larger than life figure. So to have the opportunity to spend a full hour with him was so special for me. And then also to know that I would have that recording of that interview forever, that I'd be able to play for my kids and my grandkids, you know, hopefully one day. And then I also got a book, one of the books, and I had Dr. Cannon sign it to my son, Drew, who at the time was 1 year old. And I got really excited about the possibility of explaining this to Drew one day. So I was so grateful for that experience. Just supremely grateful for that experience. And as a football player, you're going to hear a lot about about the legacy of Dr. Cannon. That's something I can't speak really a lot to because I'm not old enough to have seen him play, but certainly have read enough about the player he was, and we can all see his accomplishments at LSU and the Heisman Trophy, of course. But may he rest in peace, and condolences to Dr. Cannon's family. And I tell you, I'm sure they're going to do LSU's announced they will do, there'll be a private funeral, but there will be a public memorial service at some point, I'm sure in conjunction with LSU, and my guess is that's going to be a pretty special day. So LSU is usually very good with events like that, and I'm sure they will be again this time around. So Dr. Billy Cannon died at the age of 80 yesterday. And, I'll tell you, if you got remembrances, things like that, do me a favor, just post them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them, and I'll probably use a lot of them on the radio show today if you have them. LSU baseball is on the road today. They head to Hoover. They play tomorrow against Mississippi State. Two little tidbits here from yesterday. Nick Bush is likely to start the game. We sort of assumed that with Bush having not pitched this past weekend against Auburn. He also did not pitch in the midweek. So that means Bush has not pitched since the Alabama series where he started and gave LSU 6 innings. I'm a little surprised, quite honestly. And I know A.J. Labus deserved the start after. I guess he didn't start against Bama. He came in relief when Mikael Hilliard didn't pitch well. But I'm a little surprised Bush didn't pitch at all this weekend, and especially, and I know we talked about it yesterday, but when Labus came out of the game on Saturday, I really thought they'd go to Bush at that point because it felt like when he came out it was 2-2 with 2 men on, and it felt like if you're LSU, you go all into in that Auburn series, you go all in to boost your RPI to get to 16 conference wins, and that punches your ticket. I mean, it just felt like that was going to be the spot, and they didn't go to him, and obviously for this reason, because they were going to keep him for this game. And given the options available, I don't know that there's a better option that you have, or an option I'd rather have on the mound. I mean, Hilliard's pitched big in some big spots, but he's also had some letdown moments. And typically, what you see if you just consider it this way, what you see on the Tuesday of the SEC tournament, that single elimination day, is an awful lot of whole staff approach, number 4 starter, midweek guy. You don't typically see really good arms, and you certainly rarely see weekend arms. I know last year Missouri threw Tanner Houck, which was their ace. They threw Tanner Houck on Tuesday, and he actually got roughed up and lost. And with the way that scouting is now, coaches just can't afford to bring a guy like that back on short rest. So the thought of pitching Hess or Hilliard on super short rest just isn't plausible. So you're going to go get your best arm available, give him the ball, and hope that he can go eat up as many innings as possible, and that your bats come around and you can finish a game some way. And for LSU, I really don't know that I'd want anybody other than Nick Bush, because if he can go out there, be solid for you, and give you 5 or 6 innings, and give up a couple of runs, you got to feel really good about your shot of getting to the final 9 to 12 outs with a lead. So I guess with the season on the line, because quite literally it's single elimination on Tuesday, you lose, you're done, and you're likely not going to regionals. If you win, you move on to the double elimination part Wednesday, and you've probably punched your ticket, and so anything you win after that is gravy. I'm not sure there's anybody else at this point that I'd want to give the ball other than Nick Bush. Hess has not been dominant this year. Mikael Hilliard has been at times, but also has been erratic. And then you really have struggled all year with the third starter. I wouldn't want Caleb Gilbert in that spot. A.J. Labus struggled the other day. So I like the idea of Nick Bush starting this game. And one more note is that Paul Maneri's made it official that Josh Smith is shut down for the year. So they will not have Josh Smith for any more. And it kind of felt like this was inevitable. Honestly, I was just more surprised that he did give it the go for the Ole Miss weekend when he did. But understanding coming off that sweep against South Carolina, he was a competitor and he wanted to get out there, but he was taking some BP and it acted up on him. So they just said, you know what, you're done. Just shut it down for the year. So it's insanely disappointing, not only because he would have been the leadoff hitter and starting shortstop on this team and helped tremendously, but also because with a guy like that, you realize you probably only have in Baton Rouge for 3 years. So one of his seasons in Baton Rouge is gone, and that's disappointing for Josh Smith, but also for LSU fans that didn't get a chance to watch him this season, and for his team that certainly needed him this year. So no Josh Smith. Hal Hughes will be the shortstop here too for. We'll see if LSU can maybe extend their season with a win on Tuesday. We'll certainly preview the LSU-Mississippi State game in depth a little bit more tomorrow on Tuesday. In the meantime, thanks to Boudreaux's. Check them out, please. Alexander's, Calandro's, Calvin's in Baton Rouge. They got the Margarita mix and the Bloody Mary mix based out of Homa, or Darren, who started the company, is from Homa. So a great Louisiana product. Would highly recommend you give it a try. So check out Boudreaux's and let them know that you appreciate them sponsoring Morning Scone. In the meantime, y'all have a great Monday, and we will see you tomorrow for Morning Scone.